focus for those of you who saw it. I said, what did that flower mean? And to me, the flower that was in focus in the rainbow in the back said that we need to do what we need to do today. That flower is in focus. Whatever it is that we need to do today to get to our rainbow and our pot of gold in the future. The next day, that next morning, everybody saw a double rainbow that went into this fountain, and I just saw this rainbow literally right outside my window. And it said to me that we're in the right place and in the right time. So I was thinking about this, and this is a lot about greatness too, and so it hasn't changed that much, but do you remember the moment that changed everything for you? When you could have taken a left turn instead of the right turn that you might have changed? You know, one of my, Kevin, our social media director, said to me that a definition of hell that he had just heard is when you die and you go to heaven, or this is hell, as he said, and you have that chance for the person that you are to look at the person you could have become. And that was the definition of hell. And so I started to think about that moment for me that changed everything. And that moment for me looked a lot like this. It was somebody that I met, two people, Mr. Vidal Sassoon and Paula Meehan. I had the distinct honor of being a Global Salon Business Award judge. Paula gave millions of dollars to really trying to help salons become better and build this worldwide program. I was lucky enough to be a judge, and when Vidal Sassoon was the honored guest, he was seated right next to me. If I look back on my life over the last 7 years, 8 years ago that I met Vidal, I would never have known that the 2 hours that we spent talking could have led me to where I am today. And for those of you that are in the room, to the world you may be somebody, but to somebody you may be the world. The mentors that you have in your life, and I watched Kim Bo actually stand at the party last night and take pictures the entire night until every person left, every person was out of line. And so many artists did. It's not just Kim, but for all the artists, and we talk about this, a moment that somebody said something to you that made you feel great could completely change your attitude about everything, and they don't even remember that they ever did it, because they do it every day. But in the same way, if they do something that hurts you, the same thing can happen. One of my slides later is, whose voice is loudest in your head? Is it yours? Or is it somebody else's? You live in the world with your dream. So I want you to keep remembering that your voice needs to be the one that's the loudest in your head, and not anybody else's. So I'm going to keep these PowerPoint slides going pretty fast because, so you want to just kind of, it's okay to keep them up. So that's when I was thinner and younger, meeting Vidal. And that was the night I met Vidal. That was the very first picture that he and I had together. We spent 2 hours talking, and he invited me to New Orleans. And he said, Mary, he calls me up out of the blue. I'm like, why me? He calls me, he says, I want you to go down to New Orleans with me because this was less than a year, just about a year that Katrina had happened. And he said, I want you to come down and just, you know, I want you to be there and just see what we did. We built 2 houses for Katrina victims. And I went down there and was so unbelievably moved. So we're driving back in the car. This is a year later, and we're going back to the airport, and Vidal turns to me and he says, we should do this. We should get hairdressers together, and we should help these people. And what I'll share with you in just a few minutes is about him being an orphan, and so he felt so strongly that he was given a home at the age of 6 years old when his mother could no longer take care of him, and he felt that all of these people were lost and forgotten by the government, and that he wanted to help. So I sat in the back of that car thinking, oh my God, that was yesterday's problem. The newscast, everybody's gone, nobody cares anymore. But he made me believe that it was possible that we could rally the entire industry together under his name and with our help, and we could make money, and we could build houses. I remember going back thinking, be careful what you wish for, You're going to disappoint Vidal Sassoon. Don't do it. Nelson Mandela said, it's only impossible until it is done. You know, bumblebees should not be able to fly. Not mockingbirds. What are the little birds that fly back? Hummingbirds. Hummingbirds. Hummingbirds shouldn't be able to fly backwards. Sunflowers should not be able to rise up to the sky because they're too heavy, they defy gravity. And now there are airplanes in the sky, and we've flown to the moon, and so Vidal saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and he saw something in opportunity that he believed in. I mean, he really, really did. And so I said, okay, long story short, we spent the next 2 years, not even a year and a half, raising money for Katrina victims. And inside of, actually it was 1 year, we raised $2 million because of the hands of hairdressers. You guys gave $2 million, and we built 22 houses for Katrina victims 2 years after Katrina happened. I love this quote. It's from Alice in Wonderland, and the Mad Hatter says, "Have I gone mad?" And Alice says, "Well, I'm afraid so. You're entirely bonkers. But I'll tell you a secret. All the best people are." Only those that are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who are only the other ones that do. So I think that they had it right. Vidal was an orphan, he was 6. Greatness, this is one really big lesson in greatness. Greatness has always seen the glass half full. When Vidal and I were touring together and speaking in different places, he was an orphan at the age of 6. He lived in an orphanage until he was 12. All the bombing was happening in London. And I would say to Vidal, when you get on stage, you need to be sad. I need you to be sad. We're trying to raise money. I need you to cry, and I'll throw some water at your face so it looks like there's tears coming down. Like, you need to do something. Vidal would get on the stage and I get it, I get it, I get it. Get on the stage, and you go, well, you know, living in an orphanage, it wasn't bad. Did I miss my mom? Yeah, a little bit. But you know what? We actually had enough kids that we could put together a football team. And I'm like, and he kept saying that. Anthony Muscola lost his mother when he was 5, and they just, both of them are so similar when they say, they see the glass half full. Anthony always says, it made me more independent. So instead of saying, oh, that was awful, he said, I learned, and you know, Vidal always said, he had to say, you just get on with it. You just do it. You just keep believing that anything is possible, because it is. And that's what greatness is really about. It's about pushing through and shining through when so many people would have stopped, you know, and given up and seen the glass half full and changed, you know, perspective. Gratitude is an amazing thing. Gratitude solves everything. The moment that you feel bad about anything happening in your life, look to your left and look to your right, and I promise in one of those directions, you'll find somebody that has so much less. They say that one man's trash is another man's treasure. So think about your treasure. Think about your trash that would be somebody else's treasure in the world. And when you start to think about that, you start to feel kind of bad about what you feel bad about because of it. So I'm going to show you, this is what the program that we did for Hairdressers Unlocking Hope. And we shot, we used the hands of hairdressers to tell the story of Katrina victims. And we took a key from all of the homes that were lost and told the story through the hands of hairdressers. Those keys that are actually on those fingers are true houses that no longer exist. So it said, we're using the hands of hairdressers to tell the story of 501 Elm Street because we wanted everybody to know the stories. And if I had more time, I would share so many of these stories. Ted Gibson did one where an African-American family brought their kids through the flood, got up onto a bridge, and he was willing to paint his hands white that will say, will you see me now? Being an African-American, the family stood on the top of the bridge for over 24 hours in the heat of the day and the night without anybody picking them up. The stories are amazing. Chris McMillan is in this as well, where a young writer, a young film director, lost all of his films in the flood, everything he had, and he killed himself. And Chris McMillan shares a story of his drug addiction and so forth that had happened and how he saved his own life in the process. And he wanted to tell that story through his hands. So it was a very, very powerful campaign 7 years ago. And this is just about Vidal and his orphanage. And as I said, we brought the industry together to raise money. Hairdressers are the most giving people in the world. They'll do anything for anybody. We know that every day. And Vidal knew that. You know, the funny thing is that Vidal knew that even before I did. He knew that we could gather the industry together. And here's just a couple of the pictures of the family in gratitude. So I was just talking about that family right there lived in that trailer. They also had a son who was 6'6".
Oh, jeez.
Their house was destroyed, and they received one of the homes, and their son, who was 6'6", actually had to sleep on the top of, in a camper on the top of the kitchen table. That's where he slept. Their smiles were always that big the entire time because they felt so grateful that they actually had a trailer. Because so many other people didn't. They felt grateful because they were able to keep their family together because so many other families had to be in multiple trailers. The moment in life that changes a person changes you forever. I remember coming back and giving up something that was very materialistic that I never really cared about anyway, and that was an expensive car. And it moved me so much that I bought a Jeep. I always wanted a Jeep, a Wrangler. That's what I still drive today. I still drive a Wrangler Jeep. I've never gone back to buy that car because it's not important to me. I love that Jeep. It's actually the happiest car. I've had every BMW, I've had everything. But I love that car. It was that family that actually made me change my perspective and my desire, in a sense, to make sure that I always had a life of gratitude. And it was sort of like kind of going through Lent. It just didn't stop. So, Joan Rivers. How can we... I was really so hurt when Joan Rivers died. She dared greatly in her life. If you don't have the will to fail, if you don't have the courage to fail, you'll never dare to succeed. She always dared to succeed. The one thing that captured me, if you haven't seen her movie, A Piece of Me, I highly recommend that you watch it. She said that she had to wear sunglasses sometimes to read her calendar. And she hated to have to wear sunglasses because if there was anything white on the calendar, it was the worst day of her life because it meant that she had time on her calendar. She was always terrified of having time on her calendar. And it was something she talked about in that all the time as she got older and older. Would she be relevant anymore? And so she literally worked until her dying day. It gave all of us joy and honesty in so many ways. And so I think about gratitude that we owe her for giving her entire life to what it was that she did. And yes, was she raunchy? Loved it. Hello. She said what all of us wanted to say, but nobody else was ever willing to. How many people want to do that? She gave us that and have the right to do that. So 2 things define you: your patience when you have nothing, and your attitude when you have everything. You have to be patient for what it is that you're looking for. If you want to achieve, I have a saying that you only get what you expect in life. If you expect very little, that's exactly what you're going to get. Congratulations. If you expect a lot from yourself and you reach for the stars, guess what? You reach for the moon, you're going to capture it. You really will. You may not get all the way, but guess what? You're going to get a long way. And your attitude when you have everything. When I watch different artists stand there all night, all day, all night, and take pictures, I have so much appreciation and gratitude for the time that they're willing to do it. And if any of you know me, you'll say, every time you walk up to me and say, oh my gosh, I know you're so busy, would you mind if I take a picture? Mind? Do you think any of us mind? That's what we're here for. That's what we live for. That's what our purpose is for. So please never apologize for ever asking any of us for a picture. Because you're giving us purpose. We should be asking you for the picture. You know, so it's about attitude having everything. So when you do, remember that as you grow and you become a mentor and a leader in your own organization, remember that everything that you say means something. Be careful about what you say. Remember to tell your team how important they are. Pat them on the back. Tell them that they're wonderful. And also, see something in them that they didn't see in themselves. So for the team members that are sitting here, you want hard leaders, you want strong leaders, you want direction. In fact, it was funny, I was saying to one of my designers, I'm like, you know what, I'll give you, do you need vodka? I know I'm always saying vodka, but do you need vodka? And she's like, I just need direction. She said that, Nicole's back, she just said that. I just need direction. They want direction. They want to be guided. They want to be led. Lead them. Lead them. Don't be afraid to. As I was saying, to the world you may be one person, but one person you may be the world, and we talked about that. For all of the people in this room that had a vision and a dream, I want you to read this and think about it. This is my girl of 2 black bears playing poker in the rainforest in Brazil at night. Now you might go, what the hell does that mean? What is she saying? I don't see 2 black bears. You don't have to see 2 black bears. AJL, no idea who it is, saw 2 black bears. AJL sees 2 black bears in there. That's called AGL's dream. That's your dream. Nobody else needs to know what your dream is. They don't need to see it. Because you know what? Vision is seeing what other people don't see. But it's never celebrated until everyone else sees it. So when I started BehindTheChair.com 14 years ago, and I know a few of you have heard the story, but there are many new people in the room. When I started this company 14 years ago, they said hairdressers would never turn on a computer. And I'm going to say the good old boys. I'm going to go as far as to tell you, which I've never told you before, that 14 men invited me to a room. And I'm saying men, there were no women. I'm not dogging on the men. I still call it the Good Old Boys Network. They brought me to a room about a year and a half after Behind the Chair started. I thought they wanted to collaborate. I'm not going to tell you who these people were, but I'm going to tell you they were leaders in the industry. They wanted to collaborate. They all sat on one side of the table, and I sat on the other side of the table. And they all proceeded to tell me, who do you think you are? You need to shut your site down. We're in charge of what a community looks like in this industry, and we're going to put you out of business. Don't ever threaten somebody who has vision and purpose and passion. That happened to me, and I will never forget it. It was so hard in the beginning. We lost $4.5 million in 2 years. I didn't take a salary for 5 years. I almost bankrupted my family, as many of you know. And I kept going and going and going and going, and everybody told me that it couldn't be done. Everyone told me it couldn't be done. And everybody was against us. You know who wasn't against us? Hairdressers. You just kept logging on. Damn you. You just kept logging on. And I really love it. Don't you love it when you finally get there and then they come back to you and go, I knew it would work the whole time. I knew it. You know, I was betting on you the whole time. Like, really? Because the last time I remember, I felt, you know, I was pulling a knife out of my back. But, you know, that's the thing, is like, you have to believe in your dream so much that even if nobody else does, you've got to just keep going. Whose voice is loudest in your head? As I said, behind the chair. I know some of you saw the slide last year and I put it up because it's such a powerful slide. Anyone can give up. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. But to hold it together when everyone else would understand if you fell apart, that's true strength. What I deal with today is nothing. I couldn't pay my bills. I didn't know who to pay. Was raising a family with an amazing husband, by the way, who's in the room. Do you stop? Do you go? Do you stop? Do you go? What do you do? And I kept going because I believed. I knew I was right. Everybody that knows me, they reply, I always know I'm right. You know you're right, right? So I knew it. I just knew that hairdressers, if you kept logging on, it was going to be there. You know, there's no passion to be found in settling for a life that you're less than the one you're capable of living. Nelson Mandela said this, and I think it's so brilliant. There's not. You know, you have to find your dream and live your dream. And as we said that, following your vision. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. Hire for attitude and train for skill. And you can't do it the other way around.
That is exactly
you can't hire, you cannot teach attitude. I promise you can't. I just totally believe you cannot teach attitude. You know, John Frieda is the richest hairdresser that's ever lived. John Frieda is a friend of mine, and you know, John said to me when we were interviewing him for the cover, he said, you know what, I started out and I was folding towels. And I was the best damn towel folder you ever met. I made an art form out of folding towels. Guys, there's no elevator to success. You gotta take the stairs. You gotta take the stairs. The day when there was Leonard and Vanal, two most brilliant hairdressers that started it all, and he was with Leonard. And that day, that opportunity, Leonard came in and said, that guy folding towels is pretty good at that. I want him to be my assistant. And then John took it a step further, and it became like clockwork. While he watched Leonard's hands, he kept putting what Leonard needed into those hands, and without even knowing it, he became one of the best hairdressers in the world by doing nothing more than watching Leonard's hands. And then, guess what? When it was his time, and somebody was sick at a photo shoot for Vogue, guess what? They pulled the guy off the bench by the name of John Frieda, and he got into the game. And he got his very first shoot that he ever did, and we know what happened after that. You know, I did an editor's letter 2 issues ago that said, don't just stand in line waiting for your trophy. Don't just show up. You gotta shine up. You can't just show up to the dance. You gotta shine up. You just can't get a passing grade. You know, great does what good is unwilling to do. There's a big space between good and great, and you have to find it by continuing to do the things that other people are unwilling to do. There's a quote that's probably coming up that says, oh, and I want to say this, look closer, do you see something in her that she doesn't see in herself? A great leader will find great things inside their team. Always they'll find great things inside their team. So make sure that you're paying attention, and make sure that you're pushing your team members to a place that they didn't even know that they could go. So team members out there, when you think that your manager, your owner's being tough, it's because they see something. If I don't believe in you, I will give up on you, and I won't push you. Why bother? I'm only going to push you if I believe in you. If not, there's the door. Don't let it hit you in the ass on the way out. And diva equals disease. Everybody put those iPads up and you take a picture of that. I'm going to ask you something. You know what? I did not go to manipulation class, but divas, they got A+++ in that class. And I can promise you, you can't compete with the quiet little divas in the space. So you got your quiet ones, right? That walk around just spreading the cancer. And then you got your loud ones that just don't like to show up on time. They're going to show you, they're going to flex their muscles, tell you how great they are, while the rest of the staff watches you let them get away with murder. This is all I'm going to tell you. I'm going to keep this one quick. Do you want to lose one person, or do you want to lose your whole team? You want to kick them out the door, or you want to lose the rest of the company? You want to lose the rest of the team? Because that's what's going to happen. They're better at it than you are. Let them go. Get rid of your divas. Be strong enough to do it. Do you guys understand? You guys get that, right? Yeah. Be strong enough to do it. This was your vision, your dream, your idea. It was yours. It's your risk, your money, your vision, your idea. It's not theirs, and don't let them ruin the dream for you, because they will try. The next place they go, they're going to do it again. You cannot change people's attitudes very easily. It's rare. Develop your culture, build it strong, have a vision, let them in on it, let them be part of it, let them enjoy the reward of it. My whole team is staying. I have 24 people staying on Tuesday night, so we can just go party it up. Now I can send them back to the office. I don't. I want to enjoy and celebrate with my team who got me here, who got us here, so we can enjoy that time together. So celebrate your successes. Oh, I'm sorry, going the wrong way. I'm like, yeah, I saw that. How do we inspire ourselves to greatness when nothing less will do? We sacrifice. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. There are 24 hours in a day, and you will choose how you spend them. When you become great at something else in your life will not be great. You need to choose what it is that you want in your life. Do you want to be mediocre? There is no such thing as balance. Guess what? I don't know, somebody lied. They just did. They just did. But you know, there's no such thing as balance. You know, you can love what you're doing, and I have to tell us, I said this in Seattle for the very first time this past year after I was here. Never apologize for loving what you do. Ever apologize for loving what you do. I know there are a lot of moms and dads in this room with young kids who are always wondering, who are always feeling so guilty for loving what you do. And they're so guilty for this idea that success is a bad thing. I can't spend all that time with my kids. I can't be there with them all the time because I'm working. But I'm going to just tell you something. One of my daughters, hi Haley, is watching from Spain. I have another daughter who graduated college, 22, is a national champion in volleyball. My son just started college. So I have 3 children. I want you to know that I was the same mother, crying and thinking that I was an awful mother for not being there for them all the time. Because people told me I was. I'd go to school, and the teacher would say, "Oh, it's so nice to see you, Mrs. Gable. You know, oh, Grant has a mother. Oh, but you know, when the man came, oh, Mr. Smith, I know you're so busy. It's so nice of you to show up and be able to be here. I know how busy you are." It's really, double standards are awful. And that teacher was a working mother. You know, and I'm going to tell you this. Your children are great when they see their mother or father love what they do. One of my daughters wrote something that said, "My mom didn't bake chocolate chip cookies, and we had the store-bought kind, but they were good. They were good store-bought kind. She didn't teach me how to sew, and she didn't teach me to cook. But what my mom did teach me is what passion looked like, and that my dreams really actually can come true. And that when that garage door lifts someday, instead of my mother driving off to her dreams and getting on a plane, hopefully someday it will be me driving off to my dreams." So I want you to know that your kids are great, and the passion and the love that you have for what you do, it breeds inside them, and it fulfills them as much as it fulfills you. Would you rather be unhappy? Would you rather make them miserable? Fulfilling your own dream is something that is a gift that you give to your children that almost so few people give. So many people go to work hating what they do, and you go to work not only loving what you do, but giving your talent to everybody else. You make everybody feel so good. I mean, what an amazing, amazing job. You know, every day you give, and doubt lies in the heart of greatness. It's okay to doubt yourself. Great people doubt themselves every single day. It's what keeps them going. John Sahag died, lived literally 7 days a week. All he did in his workshop was make shapes. He was so driven by making shapes. Trevor Sorby stood backstage with me one time smoking 25 cigarettes before I was going to introduce him on a stage saying, "I don't think it's good enough, I don't think it's good enough, I don't think it's good enough, I don't think it's good enough." And of course, Alexander McQueen, we all have to understand that despondency and desperateness are the things in many ways that drive the highest level of creativity that we have. We certainly don't hear singers talk about being happy. We hear about them talking about jealousy. I mean, what's the young lady, I always forget her name, Taylor Swift. I mean, what happens if she actually gets married? We'll never get another song from her. You know, it's all about that. It really is. Chaos is where we grow, though. We don't grow in balance, we grow in chaos. So, allow chaos to happen, you know? Allow it to happen, because you can't grow any other way. We talked about that. And greatness is not reserved for the chosen few, it's reserved for the few who choose it, as I said. I think that's my last slide. I started the show with this yesterday because I wanted all of you to think about yourselves. We were all put on this earth and we're destined for greatness, every single one of us. It took me until I was 33 years old to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. It wasn't until, and then, you know what the crazy thing is, I had $1 million in the bank at 26 years old, owning a search firm. I worked 18-hour days from the time, I'm a college dropout, by the way. College dropout. It sort of became cool to become a college dropout. I'm a college dropout. I was a geophysics major in college. Geophysics, who knew? That's probably why I was a college dropout. But I went to work for a search firm. I busted my ass like you have no idea. Like I worked and had $1 million at the age of 26. Had a couple $1 million in the bank, most of when I was 32. I lost all of it. 100% of it. I lost $2 million of my investors' money, and I almost bankrupted my family, as I said. But I was never happier any other day I went to work. I had truly found my passion and my purpose in life. I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing what I was doing, but I kept doing it anyway. You guys are so lucky, because what you do, like so many people said, oh, you wanted to be a hairdresser when I was 5. It took me until I was 33 to figure out what I wanted to do. It's not until you find out what you love, what you're passionate about, that's when greatness happens. That's when you're willing to sacrifice and commit so much to it, because you don't know when work ends and play begins and play ends and work begins, because you love it just that much. And so I'm going to leave you with this quote, if I can remember it. It's T.E. Lawrence, and it says, "Only those that dream in the dusty recesses of night awake to find that all was vanity. But the dreamers of day are dangerous men and women, for they dream in the daytime with their eyes wide open to see that it became a reality." Dream big, dream great, dare greatly, have the courage to fail so you can dare to succeed. Believe in yourself, always. Whether anybody else does, you are destined for greatness. Believe it. Thank you.